Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day 3 of the National Training Agency's TVET e-convention. We had a great session yesterday on new modes of training in the workplace post-COVID-19, and we trust that all present enjoyed that session. As well on our first session, virtual and augmented training for TVET, which was held on Tuesday. To all of you joining us today, welcome. And I hope that you enjoyed today's session, which is focused on entrepreneurship in TVET. At this point, it is my pleasure to welcome the moderator for today's session, Dr. Patrice Paris-Sills, Manager of Research, Planning and Development at the National Training Agency. Dr. Sills, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Sunita, and welcome everyone. For those of you joining us for the first time, you missed out. But it is not too late for you to look at the broadcast and proceedings from day 1 and day 2, which will be on our YouTube channel at this point in time. As Sunita would have indicated, I am Dr. Patrice Paris-Sills, and I will be serving as the moderator today for this timely conversation on entrepreneurship and TVET. Our first presenter today comes with over 15 years of experience in conceptualizing and developing business ideas through the effective use of digital media. Using fundamental concepts of digital entrepreneurship, she has established many successful businesses, both at the regional and international spheres. Additionally, she has advocated and continues to advocate the importance of digital skills development throughout the region. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in providing a warm welcome to Ms. Janelle Ross McIntyre, accreditation consultant with the International Computer Driving License of America. Ms. McIntyre.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Thank God for another day, and I thank you to the NTA for having me on panel this morning, and excited to get started. Today's session, I'll be speaking on the topic of digital entrepreneurship, and as mentioned before, my name is Janelle Ross McIntyre, and I am the regional accreditation consultant for ICDL, which is the International Computer Driver's License. It's a digital skills benchmark globally. And our remit is basically looking at the development, the global development of digital skills and literacy, particularly within the areas of TVET and entrepreneurship. So today we're just going to explore a bit the potentials of digital entrepreneurship. We're going to look at what it is. We're going to consider the changing climate, socio-economic climate that we're currently facing with COVID, etc., and the significance of this pandemic specifically on SMEs and how digital entrepreneurship can give an avenue of support or opportunity to move forward in business, looking at how the spheres of business are changing from physical, traditional business to more digital engagement business format. So let's consider the concept of digital entrepreneurship. What exactly is digital entrepreneurship? So digital entrepreneurship is a concept that is still being debated. It's quite new, and currently it's still very early days around terming or coining the phrase. But ultimately, it is looking at doing business online, doing business using digital tools, digital resources to promote traditional business opportunities. However, the key thing that we need to consider, and we're going to look at this morning, around digital entrepreneurship would be the questions about data, and how do we use data, how do we access data, how do we use it to our advantage as an entrepreneur online on a digital platform. The craft of business itself, looking at what are the types of businesses we can engage digitally, how can we improve the business ideas and test the theory of that idea, whether it would work on a digital platform, and looking at revenue sources, how can we monetize these ideas using the support of digital technology. What does it mean geographically for business, looking at the expansion of business from a local, regional, and now a global opportunity that is posed with the support of digital technologies. And finally, how do we educate ourselves and gain the skills and knowledge to actually take advantage of these opportunities? So that would be what we're going to focus on today, and what we're going to explore. Okay, so at this point in time, digital entrepreneurship proposes a new perspective on business. And it's basically us looking at traditional business forums versus technology and new ways of engaging customers, engaging investors, engaging opportunities through the use of technology. On a practical level, digital entrepreneurship opens up possibilities to everyone. It doesn't matter the stage at which you're at in terms of trying to access business opportunities, whether you just got an idea, whether you started to explore the idea in terms of its possibilities to produce revenue, whether you've got your business registered and you've started trading on a small scale, on a large scale, or you're already established in business. Digital entrepreneurship gives access points to every level. Okay, and through these access points, again, at whatever level you may have, it allows you a greater opportunity to engage customers. You can engage customers, new customers, current customers, prospective customers. You have that ability through technology and digital platforms to directly engage with your potential customers. It allows you to gain feedback. It allows you to put forward your ideas and have that direct engagement to further develop your ideas or adjust your product or service to meet the specific needs of your target market. It also allows you to establish your brand, your presence, your products, your services. So it gives you a wide scope to access information, to, again, through customer engagement, be able to get the feedback, get the resources or the skills to develop your products and your brands, and to heighten the reach and scope of your product and service. It allows flexibility and options in terms of being able to collect or revenue or to monetize your products and services, both on a local and international platform. So we're going to look at that a bit more, thinking about e-commerce platforms and being able to collect finances either online or also during traditional means. Product service delivery options. So it allows you to look at traditional opportunities that normally you may not think would be able to work on a digital platform, such as, say, agriculture or traditionally tech-worked areas, cosmetology, fashion, automotives. You think, okay, I need to go to a mechanic, I need to have him look at my car, I need to be physically there to engage this service. The digital platforms allows for you to be able to express the details of your product or service as an entrepreneur, be able to get your customers to identify this is a service that I need, this is a service that I want. They should be able to access the basic information around that service and express their interest to engage. So whether it is communicating to you, I'd like to book an appointment, or saying to you that I would like to now find out more of your service, I would like you to come to me, or I will come to you, and get it to a point where you can now follow through on the physical element. And this is very important considering the social climate at this point in time with COVID-19 and the restrictions on social gatherings and meetings. It is important for us to be able to manage effectively the flow of our customer engagement on a physical level, and also ensure that we don't reduce business opportunities in this time, because it's also a financially trying time, but use the digital tools available to change the way in which we would normally do business. So it's a new look on business as usual. Okay, so being able to be a lot more structured in our approach and our attitude towards customer engagement, and how we fine-tune our business processes. And this could all be done through digital platforms and digital media. So in the current landscape of digital entrepreneurship, we've seen over the past 5 years a boom of different businesses that have taken traditional services and made them digital, and done so successfully. We've seen well-known companies such as Netflix that has taken the idea of film and going to the cinema to feature movies and personalized it and made a hugely successful business out of digitizing that service. So we see the success of this business, especially during COVID, where you've seen companies such as Disney, instead of taking losses at the box office, also follow suit with the Netflix model and adjusted to have a platform, a digital platform, to premiere their movies and their films. And this is a perfect example of the shift from business as normal to digitized business. We see Uber, which was a big boom in terms of taxi and courier servicing. That has picked up in Trinidad, and we've got a few local links of it, just a few examples. And it shows that this is not just a big global idea or something that is external and not applicable to a local climate. These are things that could be done locally. And with any business idea, we look at agriculture, it's fresh. So looking at agricultural produce and being able to deliver it directly to the customer. We're worried about going to the groceries, the market, the crowding. These are issues in terms of our current social climate. So again, through the use of technology, we are now able to engage the customer, identify the need, and provide a direct solution to their need or problem. Okay, malls were closed for a very long time. Online shopping is at its highest. And we think about the bigger stores when you think of online shopping, but if you look at platforms such as Instagram and Facebook, they have really adjusted their access to include low-tech and individuals that may not necessarily have the needs to develop their own site, have their own e-commerce platform, but be able to just, again, communicate the product that they've got available, identify with the customers that need or would desire those products, and be able to connect and complete the transaction. Okay, and digital entrepreneurship is that simple. Using technology to solve a problem, communicate a need, and communicate a solution. It's down to those fundamentals. We've seen the rise of online malls. So with shops closed, people considering closing down their stores because of rents, etc. The internet provides a landscape that allows for you to virtually continue your business as a store owner. And we see the rise of opportunities where people now have online malls offering the service to push your product, manage your product online through an online mall. So it's again shifting the mindset from physical to virtual. Food delivery, again, not something very new, but something that we've had to, with COVID, pick up and actually implement locally, right? And again, it's you have varying levels. You may have the finance and access to be able to do a hello food, or you may simply have a WhatsApp number. You've got a restaurant, you've got a car, you're willing to make your meals, push out your menus on WhatsApp, status posting on Facebook, and someone contacts you, I'd like to order XYZ, great, I can deliver it to you at this cost or at this time. And we continue business. So looking at whatever access point you're currently at and entering the market at that point, there are tools available to support that shift. So we're going to look now at some of the tools available. So at this point, we have WhatsApp being your lowest entry point. Well, your lowest entry point would be your telephone and your normal text messages. But as it relates to digital technology, I think WhatsApp, it's a free option. It allows you to access digital communications via pictures, videos, being able to put forward a great graphical representation of your business, allow you to speak, to engage via video or a telephone call, all on a free platform and all low tech. So you don't have to have an IT degree to do that. And this is something I think a lot of us are familiar with, but on a personal level. And that is another element that we need to consider, that a lot of the digital tools that would be suited to help forward our entrepreneurial ambitions are tools that we use every day. They are social tools, tools that we use for recreation, tools that we see as entertainment. These are also tools that are fundamental for business success. And WhatsApp have now identified this level and segmented and created a differentiation with you have your WhatsApp personal or WhatsApp for business. So they have perfected their craft to the point where they can identify your usage to see, well, okay, this looks like more business activity and suggest to you to change it to WhatsApp for business. Now, in switching from WhatsApp to business to WhatsApp personal, it affords you a lot more tools and supportive resources as an entrepreneur. to push your business forward. You can now not just have contacts, but you can categorize, label your customers. You could map the process of your customer engagement, label to say, well, this is a new customer, this is a customer that has just placed an order, the order has been fulfilled. You can create your groups for distribution and promotion. You can outline the scope of your business, have a mini site, so to speak, just in terms of your settings and your description of your business. You can outline your products, all your services, all your brochures. You can upload it and have it on WhatsApp. And this is like a mini website, so to speak. So I am sure at its basic access points, we have never considered this. Something such as status. We use our status to say, hi, this is what I'm doing. No, this is what's going on with my business today. Those who are doing food, those who are doing carpentry, those who are doing welding. I'm doing this for this customer. This is how I've built these windows. You put it on your status and it goes to everyone in your contacts. And it is not intrusive in the sense that it is a choice for the customer or your contact to look at your status. So it's not you pushing and being intrusive and being an annoyance, which is another element we need to consider with digital technology, how we manage the ethics of managing data and how we communicate. But it allows for you to control your flow of communication, what is put out there about your business, about your opportunity, and also to manage the communication of those coming in, all right? As your business grows, you can take it to another level. You could look at social media, Facebook. We all know Facebook and Instagram, posting on a day-to-day. Instagram, it's more visual, so all the fashion industries, the cosmetology, entrepreneurs, the hairdressers, the beauticians, etc. Instagram is your platform for your business. It allows the customer to connect with the visual. It allows you to connect with what you're actually doing, seeing your process, seeing the end result. There is also the element of live. So you can do a live of completing a customer's look, or a live of cooking a specific dish or preparing a specific meal, a live of fixing, if you're a mechanic and you notice there's a lot of customers coming in with a specific problem, you can do a live of showing, okay, this is how I've addressed this problem. You know, if you've got a Honda Civic, whatever, this is how we address it. If you have that problem, you know, you can come and see us. So it allows you to connect on a personal level, share and have a conversation with your customers or potential customers on a larger scale. And it is important to understand that these are global platforms. So once you put it up there, it's not just the local person that you interact with, the person around the corner, the person in Trinidad and Tobago. It is a global platform. So it opens up the scope of your business to be successful on a global scale. And again, even though it has all these potentials, the entry point is still medium skill. So again, you don't need to have a degree to use Facebook and Instagram. You know, it is some things that you engage, the things that you would do on a day-to-day, it still allows you to do that, but for your business. Okay, so another thing we need to consider with these three platforms is that they're all owned by the same company. So integration is a big thing for digital entrepreneurship. That is your best friend, okay, because it allows you synergies in terms of your communication, especially when you're putting messages out there. You think, oh, well, I've got to manage all these different platforms. You post to Instagram, and you could also have the option for it to automatically be posted to Facebook. You post to your WhatsApp status. It asks you if you wanted to go on your Facebook status, which also shows on your Instagram status. So you get a 3-for-1 deal. All right. And these are simple things that we're not aware of, but it is opportunities that are fundamental, especially at entry levels of entrepreneurship. No matter what the idea is that you're looking to put out there, you can start. Now, Facebook has a Facebook page. And one of the things that we need to consider, again, touching on the point of public versus private spheres, it is important to separate the two, especially if you're going into business. It is very important, it's crucial. And we'll have people, you find that on Facebook, you might be using your profile to promote your business. However, I think you would find more value in creating a page. Again, the features that are afforded are completely different. If you're a spa owner or a masseuse or a trainer and you want to book appointments, it gives you the opportunity to have that facility, you know, whereas you may think, oh, well, I have to get a website and do an app and pay for this app to be able to book my appointments. It's a feature that is included in Facebook. And again, there's synchronicity, so it flows through your different platforms, right? Instagram, you can also identify your Instagram profile as a business profile. This allows you to advertise, right? So advertising on these platforms are very inexpensive. They may be inaccessible in some elements if you don't have access to a credit card or a bank card that would allow for that facility. So that is another element that we need to consider in terms of access. However, it allows you, again, direct engagement with your target groups. And for any business, that is the ultimate goal. Find who has the problem and let them know you have the solution. Okay. At the top end of the access cycle would be websites and apps. Okay, so everybody has an app these days. And before you think apps are so, you know, unattainable and expensive, but there are loads of platforms available that offer you white label app development, depending on your industry, depending on your service or product, that you can, again, brand and allow for the technical elements or what you lack in the technical elements to not be a restriction to your progress. The same with websites. Website development, you can find a developer and have it customized if you've got the funds to do so, but there are also a lot of platforms that offer web ready packaged or ready structured websites that you can simply cut and paste and to suit your particular need. These elements may be more high skill, more high cost access. However, they give you multi-level control, which is ultimate. So again, looking at the integrations of social media platforms onto your website, it allows you to synchronize all your flow of communication and have everything coming to one place. But on this side, what I would like to emphasize is that if you're an individual who is thinking about a business, or you're in business, you're a tradesperson, and you're thinking, okay, well, I've got this skill, I can create cupboards, I can fix cars. These platforms allow you to communicate directly. This is my skill, this is what I'm able to do, and this is how you can contact me so I can help you with your need. Now, with all the wonders that these platforms offer, access also has a flip side in terms of the digital divide. And this technology is great, but if you can't access this technology, then it makes no sense. So it is important that powers that be within the TVET community, within the government, non-government, and lobbying institutions, that we take the time to put policies and we look at the core elements that contribute to the digital divide, and make sure that we could address some of the issues such as affordability, finances, and cost to access. This could be the cost to access to internet connections, the cost of access to technology, phones, laptops, etc. Cost of access to education, to being able to upskill yourself to that point. These are some of the things that we need to look at, and also lobby and have policies that address these access points and ensure that at the lowest level it can be achieved. On the topic of financial access, online financial transactions and e-commerce is something that locally still has to be finalized, and a lot more options be available. There are options such as repay, etc., that help with the facilitations, and there are a lot of banks now that are developing and making progress in this area, but there's still a large proportion of the population that simply don't have access to things like a credit card, which is fundamental to even do a simple transaction. So things like unbanked transactions and these elements, we need to consider what is being done locally to improve that access, to allow for digital commerce and digital entrepreneurship to flourish in its best sense. Skills is a core element. Again, you can't access if you don't have the knowledge, if you're unaware of how to even, maneuver using your smartphone, and a lot of these platforms, they do have, self-help guides and videos and guidance, but to be honest, we don't watch them, and we're not interested in watching them, so our culture is someone teach me, show me, this is how to do it. So we need to have programs in place that would address, how we culturally learn and access support and guidance. We need to ensure that every element of tech work training has an IT component that would allow understanding of how to maneuver basic technology, to record information, to communicate online, to use email technology, to be able to collaborate online. Online collaboration is a huge thing right now, and this does include the Facebook Lives or the WhatsApp calls, but also you have the Google platforms, the Microsoft 365 platforms that allow things like this e-convention to happen today, for individuals to collaborate online, share information online, minus the physical engagement. And that is very important. So ensuring that from a business perspective or an entrepreneurial perspective, as these skills are being taught on our tech work programs, that we include the element of digital skills to ensure that they can now access the opportunities and the entrepreneurial possibilities of that skill that they're learning. It's very important. Policy. It is important for us to now consider things like cybersecurity, data protection is a huge thing, how we manage individuals' data, how you manage the flow of that data is a responsibility. Once you engage in these platforms, you collect you would collect customers' information. How would you now treat with that? How would you protect that? How would you safeguard? How would we safeguard against fraud and while doing online commerce, e-commerce? The policies need to be in place for the protection as the landscape evolves around digital entrepreneurship. ICT standards, again, through education and infrastructural development. These are all elements that we need to consider in moving forward. Now, one of the things that is important, especially as it relates to education, is our perception of what we know and what we don't know. Now, at ICDL, one of our key support services is to look at countries and do what we call a perception and reality survey. And we've done this in quite a number of countries around the world. And this is just an example of what we would have done in Denmark and Germany. And it's basically a public survey looking at what you think you know or what you think you're capable of doing using digital technology and what is actual. And in most cases, our perception, our self-assessment of what we can do, oh yes, it's easy, I know how to do that, it's completely different to what we can actually do. And entrepreneurship is not just starting the business. When you're in the business, you'd also need to hire people. You now become a job creator. So as a job creator, you now start to think about productivity, effectiveness of your employees in terms of getting the job done, keeping your customers satisfied, getting the ball rolling. And if you're in the digital realm, time is of essence. How you do something and the time it takes to do it equates into productivity, equates into money. So someone's perception of what they can do and the reality of what they can't do is crucial to business success. So this is something that we think we need to look at in terms of our local sphere. What is the perception of digital skills at this current time in Trinidad and Tobago, and what is the reality of digital skills as it relates to the economy, as it relates to business, as it relates to work and professionalism as a whole. Now, ICDL, as I said, we're the global benchmark for digital skills development, specifically in the area of business. We offer a range of programs that would address the gaps in skills as it relates to workforce, professional development in the area of digital entrepreneurship. And these programs look at accessing technology. So at the lowest point, how do you access technology? How do you use it to your benefit? Collaboration, how do you collaborate with your customers, with your colleagues to move your business forward? And ultimately, how do you now promote, market, sell online, effectively understanding the technology and using it to your advantage? These would be the areas in which our programs would address and would guide and certify. Now, in Trinidad and Tobago, our certification is offered by EduWeb College, who is our super center at this point in time. And they are the ones who, if you're interested, you can contact to find out more about ICDL locally and how it can support you on your journey to entrepreneurship and having better access to the plethora of resources, digital resources that are available to support in your entrepreneurial journey. Okay, so at this point, I would like to thank you very much for the opportunity to share my thoughts on the topic of digital entrepreneurship. It has been an honor. I hope that I have communicated and shared some valuable information, some thought-provoking points that would help you to get the ball rolling on your business journey. And again, it has been a pleasure and a much appreciation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Russ McIntyre, for that very informative and engaging presentation. We are going to proceed on to our next presenter, because as we have the methodology that we have been employing thus far is that we would have the board presentations first before we start the other presentation. So just give us a moment to just switch out to presenters. Thank you.
You ready?
Just bear with us. We're just trying to open the slides for the next presenter. Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, up next we have a gentleman who we can certainly describe as an innovator and pioneer. I smiled during the last presenters, Ms. Ross McIntyre's discussion when she mentioned Uber, because in fact, one of his early ventures can be directly traced to the development of numerous ride-sharing businesses in Trinidad and Tobago. Since then, he has continued to develop and establish a number of successful entrepreneurial endeavors and revolutionary digital innovations, such as Business Plan Hero and Susu Savvy, the latter of which is already available on Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Moreover, he actively facilitates several entrepreneurial programs administered through the NETCO system, as well as other non-governmental organizations. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome Mr. Gabriel Williams and invite him to make his presentation to us this morning. Mr. Williams.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Moderator, for that warm introduction. Good morning to the NTA team putting this excellent convention together. Good morning to the sponsors. Good morning to the viewing and listening public. I understand we have an audience all around the world. Welcome. Thank you for having me here. My role here this morning at this convention would be to inspire you a little bit into the world of entrepreneurship. And how I'm going to do this, I'm just going to go through three stories giving you the journey through three lenses of an entrepreneur. First, I'm going to describe to you the enthusiast. I'm then going to describe to you the academic. And finally, I'm going to speak to you about the innovator. So follow me as I describe to you a specific individual. Imagine a young man, 17 years of age. He's the eldest male amongst 6 siblings. He is all of a sudden voluntold to start a roadside mini mart with the very bare minimum. I'm talking about just a crate of bananas. And from that, it turned into a pack of potatoes. From that, into soft drinks. From that, into a full-fledged mini mart. And within 1 year of this development, he gets into transportation and delivery. What are some of the successes coming out of that journey, of this enthusiast? Well, at a very young age, he becomes financially independent. Some of the stumbling blocks that he encountered on his journey was little guidance, no experience. And so, in spite of those roadblocks, he was able to display certain attributes, certain qualities. These qualities are ambition, high drive, high energy, and he was very, very humble. Next, I'm going to speak to you about the academic. The academic in this example, this person was able to acquire formal training. He has his master's, he has his bachelor's degree. He was, through his experience, afforded opportunities to travel and excel while brainstorming new and developing business ideas. What are some of the successes this academic entrepreneur was able to display? He was able to win multiple business plan competitions. He was able to hone his craft. He was able to do proposal writing. He was able to document things well and able to teach and facilitate. These are some of the opportunities that was afforded to this academic entrepreneur. And unfortunately, some of his roadblocks were losing some investment money. Yes, he can present well. Yes, he has a sound understanding of the business. But some of it ended up being wasted. All in all, he was able to display discipline, teamwork, resilience, because this particular academic entrepreneur was able to find within himself the ability to move on. There you see Taxi Me Too. This is a precursor to what we now experience here, right in Trinidad and Tobago, your ride sharing concept. It's a concept that is not new internationally, but locally, it's something that has been given the opportunity to develop. Ideas to Innovation. This was a governmental program where young entrepreneurs would gather in teams, brainstorm innovative ideas for the future, and develop it right here in Trinidad and Tobago. These were some of the opportunities afforded to the academic entrepreneur. Aluminex Trinidad and Tobago. It's a downstream manufacturing facility that specializes in aluminum products. I remember there another presenter here yesterday, Mr. James, who specializes in metals and metal industries. These are some of the experiences that make up this academic entrepreneur. So follow with me now. I am walking you through the journey of an entrepreneur. Next, we have the innovator. This innovative entrepreneur is a different kind of entrepreneur. You find someone who's more mature, someone who's married with 3 children, and on his mind are the things such as building legacy, building generational wealth. He's in a situation where he cannot afford to fail. He's building key partnerships, of course, with his wife, other professionals in the industry, legal, administrative. Here you find this specific entrepreneur adulting. He's doing things that mature entrepreneurs do. Coming out of that, he finds himself succeeding in launching the Susu Savvy app. It's an app, just as the last presenter said, that takes traditional activities and digitize it for the modern world. He's able to acquire international accreditation, again, focusing on this journey. Some of the roadblocks he experienced in this journey, gaps in the local fintech space. Here in Trinidad and Tobago, we find that it's a space where it's in the early days, according to the last presenter. It's something that's being developed. It's something that's being supported more and more. It's an environment where you have a low risk investor situation. But some of the benefits that come out of these experiences for this innovative entrepreneur are experience. He's able to grow, learn from past mistakes, improve on others. He's able to network, and he's also able to focus. And so I invite you, as you follow me through these three journeys, which type of entrepreneur are you? Are you the academic entrepreneur? Is it that you're in an environment where you're working with teams? Are you in a space where you're able to be resilient and push on through? Are you the enthusiast? Are you the enthusiast? Are you full of energy? Are you full of life? Are you the type of person that wants to get it done? Or are you an innovator? You know how to think differently. You know how to find solutions. You know how to put teams together. Or are you in the unknown? You see, COVID-19 has put a lot of businesses into this unknown. It has put them in a spot where they have to do things differently. And so, as you reflect on these experiences, I want you to know who you are. I can tell you that all of these experiences are me. At one point in time, I was young, full of energy, full of life, and I was volunteered, I'll tell you, by my father to pursue a particular path. You may be, as a student looking at this presentation, being volunteered to sign up for a specific program. That's fine. What I'm telling you is to embrace the experience. Maybe you are an academic where you're in an environment where bright minds are put together. Maybe your next business partner is sitting right next to you in your classroom or in your workspace. I am telling you to take these journeys, these experiences, and develop yourself into an entrepreneur. Yeah? And so the sky, in fact, Madam Moderator, not even the sky, the world, your imagination is your limit. Here we see in Trinidad and Tobago, we have talent and capabilities that puts us on world rankings. Look at how we've handled the pandemic. Look at how some of our athletes perform in world and international stages. So we have what it takes to innovate. We have what it takes to address the unknown. All right? And so what I want to spend some time on here is to tell you the how. Another person says, oh, okay, that's a fantastic dream. That's a fantastic ambition. But how do I do it, Gabriel? How do I get it done? And so I've prepared for you this slide. Very important. I'm going to have it available for those who are interested. How do I make my innovative idea? How do I take my journey and my experiences and produce something tangible, something that's a business? Well, I will tell you, the first item is to participate. I want you to look at the diagram from the bottom up. First, your foundation is that you need to participate. You need to have a mindset that's research and development oriented. You need to be asking questions. You need to look for different pain points in your customer. You need to do a little bit of brainstorming. And of course, you need to rely on the strengths of your team. Next, you need to develop a proof of concept, maybe a prototype, maybe a proof of business, where you test the market readiness of your product and the market acceptance of your product. You communicate these things quickly. You want to get as much iterations out as possible. Ms. McIntyre can tell you, when you are doing a mobile app, for example, even the biggest companies have bugs to fix and do over, but that's fine. You need to participate and produce some sort of tangible prototype for your market. Maybe even a business plan, all right? And then finally, you need to scale your product. Find ways and means, use digital technology to scale your product, to democratize your product in some way. Expand it in phases if you have to. Use digital products, digital tools that are out there to enhance your product or service. And of course, implementation. Quickly implement, quickly scale, and this is how you participate as an entrepreneur in the digital environment. And so I commend NTA for this e-convention. I can say definitely it's a step in the right direction. And I want you, the listening audience, the viewing audience, I want you to identify where you are in your journey and use that to propel you forward as an entrepreneur. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams, for that very insightful and energetic delivery. At this point in time, we would now begin to facilitate the questions from the audience as well as from the members within the room here. I am going to ask for you to just bear with us for 2 seconds so that we can invite our first presenter, Ms. Ross McIntyre, to join us back on set. And I will go off screen so you will hear my voice. I'll still act as your voice, but you will not see my beautiful face. Okay, so one. So here we go. Are you hearing me clearly, guys? Right. Okay, so we will start with Mr. Ross McIntyre. Clear this what? But so some of the tools that you would have alluded to in terms of the use of WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram requires a shift in mindset. It's not simply putting up your products and services onto the website or Facebook page. So what can be done to support those who have the technical know-how, but don't necessarily understand that step in terms of marketing and promotion?
Well, I think that for those with the technical knowledge that are looking to promote their business, they need to basically I would say that they need to basically get an understanding of who they want to address in terms of the customer. Exactly is your customer? What exactly is your service? And let's take technology aside, although it is the focus, digital entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is fundamentally providing a solution to a problem. And understanding that element of it is the core. It would then give a deeper understanding as to how to communicate your provision of the solution, how to engage with your customers. And then once you already have the technical awareness of how to utilize the tools, then it becomes clearer as to where you would find your customers, what elements of those tools you would use to engage, and how frequent or you would engage using those platforms. Context is very important. So if it is you are in the medical field, so to speak, you're not going to do a video and of you curing a patient or having a consultation of a patient and put it on a Facebook Live, because that would be unethical and it would be out of context. However, you can use that platform to inform and to bring awareness of the issue that you may be treating with your client and give some sort of understanding of the approach that they might need to do, and have a call to action, what you call in marketing a call to action, as to connect with me, let us continue this conversation. So digitally, it's not, the platform is not going to solve all your problems. It's a tools and a means to an end. The end is, again, connecting with the customer, providing that solution for their problem. And the digital platforms that are available basically allow and enhance your ability to do that. How to use it comes with context. Context comes with understanding, and understanding comes with education.
So, Mr. Williams, throwing one at you now. When we look at your presentation and your journey to this place that you now sit as an entrepreneur, it raises the old ongoing discussion about whether an entrepreneur can be creative or honed. What, in your estimation, is the right way to go in terms of supporting entrepreneurial development in Trinidad and Tobago?
Thank you for that question. To answer that question, I would like you to, I'm a father and I have 3 young children. When I look at my kids, when we look at the youth in Trinidad and Tobago, we see that there are many talents, many skills. And so there's a very big debate: can entrepreneurs be made or are they born? And what I can say is that an entrepreneur can be trained. You can teach someone to think a particular way. You can teach them different principles of innovation. And while they may mature at different rates, while they may perform in different capacities, entrepreneurs can be trained to operate in this current environment. And so it is my view, once we create an environment where persons are experienced and exposed to different entrepreneurial routes, you would find that no 2 entrepreneurs will be the same, and that's fine, that's okay. The more creative you are in finding a solution for a specific market, the better you will be as an entrepreneur. So it's no doubt that we are all different. It's no doubt that we progress and we grow in different ways because we have different experiences. But each journey, as they lead towards entrepreneurship, will bring out the best type of environment, an environment where it's about finding solutions, an environment where it's about taking brave decisions and setting a platform for success later on. So in Trinidad and Tobago, the environment is right. It's right to harness entrepreneurship, more so on a digital scale.
So I'll stay with you with the next query. Much of your responses to the question that you just gave, the response that you just gave, and in your presentation, there's an underlying premise that there's a support system for entrepreneurs, social support system as well as a technical, because you mentioned brainstorming and bouncing off ideas and pulling together your team. But in an environment where some technical vocational candidates are not always in the same space, what can be done to support those individuals who are sometimes not as well resourced in terms of social capital as others?
Okay. I think what can be done in terms of young potential entrepreneurs that don't have the social capital as another entrepreneur, I think what can be done is more education. You see, part of the success of an idea or a mission is communication. And the more we communicate these ideas, once we do it in a manner that's receptive to the potential student, to the potential entrepreneur, they will receive it. We've had other presenters on this e-convention speak about AI, speak about virtual reality. Here you find in this society, the generation coming up, the Zennials, they are so tech-oriented. And so it's up to us, the policymakers, those at NTA, those at other institutions, to somehow fit that message, fit that opportunity in a package that they can receive it. We've heard other presenters on this same panel talk about blended learning. How do we provide the skills and techniques in this tech work environment such that they'll be able to receive it? And there is support. There is support right here locally. There are a number of institutions that provide entrepreneurial training. There are a number of institutions that provide help and support. There's been a proliferation of online coaches. There's been a proliferation of persons who can really show you the way. It's just a matter of communicating the message and having them tap into the resource. Yeah, I can tell you, today you can learn how to do a handstand from your computer. Think about it. You can do a handstand by looking at an instructional video in the comfort of your own home. How much more can we, as policymakers, provide the right environment such that technical students, technical and vocational students can thrive? Again, another presenter said it right on this panel. Maybe we need public-private partnerships where a garage or a kitchen can be located close to a cluster of potential students. These are some of the resource capacities I believe is available and can grow the digital entrepreneurship in this environment.
Thank you for that response, Mr. Williams. Ms. Ross McIntyre. So you would have shown on your presentation the measurement and a comparison of the perception versus reality of digital skills in some developed countries. Are you satisfied? I know you may not have had time to statistically evaluate Trinidad and Tobago's context, but are you satisfied that we are in a space of readiness to take advantage of digital transformation?
I think Trinidad and Tobago is definitely ready for digital transformation. I think digital transformation has been going on and continues to evolve and to grow in all spheres of public and private space. I think that what we now need to look at is quantifying, so we know for sure this is where we're at and this is the work that we need to do to get to where we want to be. And that is very important, and we need to quantify through certification, through continued research and labor market assessments and skills gaps assessments. These are the things that we need to now focus on, so we can really zone in and say, well, this is the actual as opposed to the perception.
Okay, so stay with you. One viewer wanted to know, do you have any actual examples of persons in Trinidad and Tobago or within the region who would have made this transition to digital entrepreneurship?
I think that we've shown, I think there's loads of examples. If you go right now, I mean, Gabriel has talked about the rideshare movement. That's a perfect example. You have the food delivery movement. You have the traditional commercial outlets that are now utilizing, like, not promoting any business in particular, but I ordered a pizza the other day, and I was marveled for the fact that I had to log into their platform with my social media, my Facebook details, and they sent me a message with my order. I got a WhatsApp, they found my location, and it was 1, 2, 3. You know, digital entrepreneurship and the use of digital platforms at its finest. And that was right here. You know, so I think that we have access to the technology. There's awareness of the technology. I think that what we need to look at is the access, the awareness, and the encouragement trickling down through the social ranks to get to those who do feel disenfranchised, who do think, well, that's great, but it's not for me, who may have a mind-blowing idea or a life-changing idea that could really catapult digital entrepreneurship and service delivery platform locally. So we need to make sure that there is a lot of engagement at all levels, a lot of training, a lot of development, a lot of work experience, I think is fundamental. And cross-sector engagement is also, we see tech work as their skills. You're going to do a trade, the IT people are over there, the academics are over there, and really and truly in 2020 and onward, there needs to be an understanding of the synergies and the integrations of all these elements of learning and entrepreneurial, the entrepreneurial ecosystem, that there needs to be alignment and synergy for us to really effectively move forward, right? So if we can pair a tradesperson with someone who's into app and digital development, and someone who understands marketing and the academics behind customer engagement, the wonders and the marvels that could come out of that, because it's a two-pronged, you know, sword. You can have a digital platform that offers a solution that is totally disconnected to the realities of how the solution should be offered. And you may have someone who is the best at their field that could really effectively provide a solution, but doesn't have access to the technical or academic support to promote and to bring awareness that here I am being able to solve the solution to the best of what's possible.
And segueing straight off of that last comment, Mr. Williams, what advice can you give to new and budding entrepreneurs in terms of strategies that they can employ to convince potential clients of the quality of their service, and that there's some level of accountability, even if it is that you're on this online platform? So you're not just a random WhatsApp number that I am going to start a WhatsApp to get some customer support, and you block my number, or you're missing in action because you changed your phone number. What can be considered, or what strategies can be employed to mitigate those concerns that customers may have in facing with a new entrepreneur?
Okay, I can totally relate. New entrepreneurs have the beautiful advantage of low trust. You see, as an entrepreneur, especially, I can speak for this society, you find yourselves needing to build your credibility. And in building your credibility and interacting with customers, you must build in systems into your process. You must have a specific onboarding process, must have a specific treatment process of your customers and your clients. You must also have a built-in follow-up process. All these systems that you deploy into your business as a new entrepreneur builds your credibility. It builds your trust. There's a know, like, and trust factor that comes with any business. Just like a person, you treat businesses along the know, like, and trust. And so once you take care of the awareness, which is the knowing part, the like, the relatability part, you let them know about your journey. A lot of entrepreneurs in their business, they show how the business is a part of them or how it reflects the intended target market. And then the trust factor comes with you exposing yourself to being accountable. Accountable in the sense of having the right partners on board who are themselves trusted. So you buy in to their trust level or their trust factor. So I recommend new entrepreneurs entering into the entrepreneurship world to quickly build that trust. Partner, work with people in your specific line of business and build that trust factor to get the buy-in from your intended market and service your customers well along specific customer service systems. Thank you.
Ms. Ross McIntyre, you would have indicated that there's the need for policy formulation in support of the digital entrepreneur, right? One viewer is asking, how do we find the right balance between confidentiality and that privacy of information sphere, the efficient use of digital platforms?
I think that it's as I see these things as very simple in the sense that they are although it's technology, it's business, it's policy, it's simple engagements of human beings, and do unto others as you like to do unto yourself. In a sense of you must have some sort of ethical understanding of what is appropriate, what is inappropriate, what is professional and what is unprofessional. And I think that is a fundamental, it comes down to human engagement, because ultimately that's what we're doing, engaging with other humans to find solutions to problems. Policy comes in now with formalizing and solidifying, this is what socially our norm in this sphere moving forward. And that would come through engagement with all the different stakeholders, agreeing that, okay, this within our scope, within our socioeconomic system, this is what is acceptable, this is what is not acceptable, this is what we could look to as, we're open, but it's a bit provocative, let's see where it goes. These are conversations that need to be had, right? And we could only have those conversations when we are ready to move forward. And the powers that be, make it a priority to provoke and to engage and to facilitate these conversations. But it has to be had with all stakeholders, all actors that contribute to the digital entrepreneurship ecosystem.
And a follow-up question of my own. Are you aware of anyone or any agency right now who's taking the lead in that driving the conversations at a policy level?
Well, I think that with all that has been going on through COVID and the use of technology and the focus on technology, I think that we could say the NTA is driving that conversation with this convention, because ultimately here we are having this conversation. So I think that this is a great venture, it's a great opportunity, and I think from this, I think it would be a catalyst for other conversations, other talking points, to look at, what other stakeholder groups can now engage based on the topics that have been raised here. But this, I could say, has been a great catalyst in this time, because we've gone ahead and we've, in the midst of the crisis, employed the technology and actually started to move in a digital capacity. But to actually look at the platforms and look at the context in which we're doing it in relation to Trinidad and Tobago and where we're going, what we're doing in the different public-private sectors, I think this is a catalyst. This is a conversation.
Right. Thank you very much for that. I mean, I'm pleased that is resonating. And our final two questions. Basically, we would want to know from you, Mr. Williams, that categorization of an enthusiast and an academic and whatnot. How do you advise that person figure out where they fit on the spectrum?
I think to know where you are, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to know where you are in your journey. No two journeys are the same. My story, and I resonate with your story wholeheartedly, but somewhere in there, there's the person who has that responsibility to produce, to provide. There may be someone with ample resources at his fingertips, but he has to think in an innovative way. So as I laid out the 4 categories for you, it's up to you, the individual, to focus on the attributes, focus on the resilience, focus on the teamwork, focus on communicating your product. These are the things that would enable you as a person to develop your entrepreneurial mindset and will be able to give you a sound foundation to provide products and services in this modern market.
And Ms. McIntyre, what is the next step for anyone who is ready to explore digital entrepreneurship? What is the next fundamental step that you would advise anyone to make?
I think anyone looking to become a digital entrepreneur, I think the next step is to move. Don't think about it, move. Do it. Moving might be contacting someone who they know might be interested in their product. It might be going online, signing up, creating a Facebook page or a profile, and start posting on what they have already been doing, and posting up pictures and letting the world know this is who I am and this is what I'm doing and this is where you can find me. And again, that would start that engagement, but they just need to do. Don't think, just do.
So ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the close of our question and answer session. I hope that you are as inspired as I am to start to interrogate the possibility of branching out from your technical paid jobs into entrepreneurial mindset and look at ways that we can service a need out there. Because we are closing up a little earlier than scheduled, we will still be resuming at 12:30. So I want to bid you all an enjoyable lunch, and I look forward to seeing you back here at a later point in time. And to both my presenters, Ms. McIntyre, and Mr. Williams, thank you so very much for taking time out today to join us and to spark the conversation. I do hope to engage with you again. We have some questions that we were not able to answer at this juncture that we would like to still send to you so that you will be able to respond to the participants if you do not mind. And on that note, be blessed, guys, and we will see you back at 12:30.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. I trust that we are all raring to go for this afternoon session. For those of you logging in for the first time, let me introduce myself. I am Patrice Farris-Searles, the Manager of Research, Planning and Development at the National Training Agency. And this afternoon, I will be your moderator. Once again, you are reminded that during the course of the presentation, you are free to put in your comments, concerns, or queries onto the chat room boxes, and we will facilitate your questions at the end of this afternoon's presentation. This afternoon, we are going to have a single presenter, and that will be the final presentation for the National Training Agency's TVET e-convention. So let me introduce our next presenter to you now. So today, this afternoon, our presenter is an electrical engineer who has turned a serial entrepreneur. He is a 2018 Youth Leaders of the Americas Professional Fellows alumnus. And he continues to have a strong passion for improving the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the Caribbean. He currently is working alongside with the U.S. Embassy of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as with others, to build an entrepreneurial hub. He is the founder of Luvo Cinematography, a company that focuses on commercial and corporate advertising. So without any further preamble, it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Shem Williams and invite him to make his presentation. Good afternoon, Shem.
Good afternoon, Patrice. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It is certainly a pleasure to be here. And making this presentation, I kept thinking about a time where I was at the Mount Hope traffic lights, and a guy comes up to me and he was offering to sell some chocolates. And I bought one and I struck up a conversation with him, and he said, well, he is selling these chocolates to make enough money to go back to school to pass mathematics so he could get a job. I was driving at the time. I didn't have enough time to chat with him, but I'm glad for this opportunity here. So persons in that position or seeking hope or seeking to make a difference in their life could perhaps hear what I have learned in my interaction with the TVET structure in Trinidad and Tobago. So initially, I went through the traditional path of academics. I started off in Point Fortin RC, did well in Common Entrance, went to Napima College, did well there, went on to do electrical engineering. And at that point in time, during that time, I had no real understanding of what could be done apart from this path that I was already on, which is pure academics. I was very good at art, I was good at dancing, I actually used to chant, right? And that turned out, grew into me going to hip hop, into me representing Trinidad and Tobago for the World Hip Hop Championships, the group called Eclectic. But in my mind, it was never a long-term goal. It was always just, okay, a hobby. And I always viewed it as a hobby. And I focused on academics and so forth, and turned out to be an electrical engineer. But during that time, I kept giving back to one of the dance groups, and every year I would dance once a year for them. And this year they asked me to dance on screen. So I was dancing on screen, and a female dancer was dancing on stage, and we were interacting. And people liked it so much that they asked to do it a lot more next year. Now, doing it the next year with a phone and making these videos are just so thrilling. And people were saying, oh, that's a lot of cinematography, but where's the dance? But there was this professional there, and he said, Shem, you could teach people the techniques, but you have the art, you should really give it a try. So my sister-in-law to be at the time says, Shem, you know what? I'm gonna have some faith in you. You could do my wedding in 4 months. So I bought a camera and put on Instagram, willing to second shoot for anyone. And sure enough, someone saw it, asked me to shoot the very next weekend, shot that wedding with my wife, and ended up shooting about 4 weddings by the time her wedding came about. And from there, putting on that video socially in public, people kept asking and asking for more. And that's how Luvo Cinematography was born. And but if you look at my mindset, I think I approached it all in the wrong way, in that I really disregarded my hobbies, my talents, and my interests, and focus purely just on academics. So I would advise that young man to find what his talent, what his hobby, what his interests are, and build around it, because it is just so much more fulfilling that way. It reminds me of the parable where about his master who gives his servant one talent and 1 5 and 1 10. He buries the servant with one talent, buries it. And when master comes back, he says, not such a good servant. And sometimes I wonder if that was me. God gave me all these talents and I buried it and did not bring it into fruition. And I fear that sometimes our school system might be guilty of that. And so many people have come out of it and uncertain about fulfilling their potential or their talent or their skills. Entrepreneurship is a key way, a real way, and perhaps the best way to fulfill that purpose if you feel that your skills and your talents are not being achieved. And that is what I have never, ever regretted, pushing into entrepreneurship to actually begin in that. So I wanted to, well, actually, Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative, we got selected by the U.S. Department of State to go to America to represent our countries or our businesses for 6 weeks, and it taught us a lot about entrepreneurship and paired us with like companies that will scale up. So we learned a lot from them. And this is one of the key processes that I brought back. It's called a lean canvas. And what a lean canvas is a short business plan. So a business plan could be a lot, but a lean canvas could be done in an hour or less. And it's an iterative process. So it's meant to be done over and over and over again. I think I'm on revision 6 or 7 because entrepreneurs are like trains. We build up momentum, keep going, and it should be shifted left to the right to more reach where we want to be as we learn more about what we are about ourselves and where we want to be. So the lean canvas, let's share my screen with you guys at home in the work. Brilliant, right? So on the far right, in the first segment, what you see is customer segments. So you need to know who your customer is, right? But in my instance, my customer was people interested in weddings. And that's because I started with my sister-in-law. And knowing what my customer looked like, I was able to say, okay, this is kind of people I'm looking like. So you shouldn't go for every single person on the market. There are many fields within cinematography, videography. You could do weddings, you could do commercial, corporate, you could do photography, head portraits. There's a lot, but don't do all of it. Otherwise, it just be spreading yourself too thin. You need to select what your customer looks like. What's the age group? Where do they go? What do they look like? So this is important and the very first step in selecting who your customers are. Now, early adopters, let me explain what that means. If you go into any room, what you'd see, and you ask anyone for what kind of phone they have, half of the persons would have a Samsung, another half may have an iPhone, but 1 or 2 people might have an HTC or Huawei. Now, if you wanted to sell phones, you can't sell to all those Samsung and iPhone persons. Imagine if I came out with the Luvo phone. People just laugh and say, what's that? I'm not going, not a Samsung, I'm not cool. Only cool people have Samsungs and iPhones. So you need to know who your customers, who the early adopters, who be willing to spend money on your product and target all the efforts and energies to them. In my case, when I started off with the wedding videos, I was saying, wait, boy, why not everybody going to me? My quality is astounding, it's wonderful, but I'm just being left behind. Everyone goes with the popular, famous guys. And it was really that question that I only understood after seeing this process. And to learn that people, that's okay. And you are going to lose those customers, but you are going to build your very own clientele over time as people see other persons happy with your product. And they would say, if that person could do it, I could do it. So choose your customers and go with that. The very next step is, what problems does your customer have? And you have to be very, very thoughtful about this. So I could just say, well, people just want a video for their wedding, but it's a bit more than that. Persons could either want a documentary video where they just want to know everything is captured, or persons could want a wedding film. They could want any wedding film, or they could want a very high tier wedding film. So you have to know exactly what problem you are solving, because it's a totally different suite of tools you require to serve that need. And once you know that, then you could dive down in. In my instance, I personally like making wonderful wedding films, so I structured my business to serve customers with need for very, very wonderful wedding films. Next on our list are, how are they currently solving their problems? What are their existing alternatives? For example, are they asking their friends to take a phone and capture their wedding films? Are they going by another competitor? What are they doing to currently achieve their problems, to solve their problems? And once you know that, you could go on to the very next step, which is find out what's your unique value proposition. How could you add something different? Given that they are happy or perhaps not happy, most likely, hopefully not happy, what can you and your talents and your skills and your specialness, right, add or contribute to that person? So, and this is, I want to add my 2 cents to this process. The very important lesson I've learned in entrepreneurship is asking the question, how could I add value to another person? I could walk into a room and knowing my skill and talent, which is being good with a photo, with a camera, could say, you there, you're a budding entrepreneur, but I've seen your Facebook profile and your headshot is not very good. You need a professional photo. I take very good professional photos. Take a look here, watch my stuff. Can I do this for you? And you are adding your skill, your talent, your ability to that person, right? So, well, I'll tell you a little story. So at the Wildlife program, I went into a room, about 250 persons, and decided to sit at a table next to people who looked nothing like me. They didn't even speak or weren't even speaking my language. And at first I felt kind of bad because, it's an English program, they speak in Spanish, and I felt left out. I felt excluded. But almost at the end, this girl gives me a cup of mate. A cup of mate is like coffee, and it's very popular in South America, and they share it. So they all drink out from the same straw. I'm from Trinidad, you might be from Trinidad, and we know that ain't cool, right? But the fact that she offered it to me meant so much, because it means that what I was telling myself, that whole story of exclusion was not true. And I felt so much more welcome. The girl next to her was a girl called Barry, and she was a fashion designer from Peru. And fashion designers are photographers' best friends. So I said, wow, it'd be amazing if I could just come to Peru and shoot your stuff. Can you imagine? She said, yes, that'll be wonderful to just imagine it. And 9 months later, she won a reverse exchange program, and she needed someone to shoot and create a video for her in Peru. And she calls me up and says, Shem, can you come to Peru and do this? Of course. And that was so fulfilling. That perhaps the best portfolio stuff in my career. Peru photos with Miss World Peru. And that made such an impact. And I learned so much in that With your little skill, your little talent, photography, the most common talent in the world, you could add value to anyone across the region. So photography is just an example. Another great simple talent, makeup. Makeup artists in the wedding industry are excellent, they do excellent. So the fact is, with any talent, any skill, you could add value to other persons. Right, so let's move on to the next process in our next step in our process, which is a solution. You need to define how are you going to make life easier for your intended customers. Right? Now, hopefully your solution is interesting, has to be unique, has to be good, has to work, right? And make sure it's very, very good. And very importantly, we have to focus on service as well as entrepreneurs, because once persons are very, very happy with your product, they are going to post about you, and you're going to see more customers coming in. So very important for that solution that you create must be unique, and service must be key. The very next step is channels. The question is, how do you get to your customers? So in my case, I would ask myself, I do weddings for persons around my age. Are they on Facebook, Hi-Fi, Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp? And you need to know, depending on your demographic of your customers, where they exist and where you could find them. And that's how you start finding your customers. The very next part of that, the very next step in our process here is revenue streams. So as a photographer, as a cinematographer, wedding videos, wedding photos, but even more than that, I can do engagement shoots, I can shoot portrait sessions, I can also print wedding albums. So from your core skill, you can start looking at multiple ways of bringing in income. And the very next first step is cost structure. Now, guys, cost structure is very, very, very important. And it's also a key point to add this question, which person I often get, which is how do you price? Now, there are three ways of pricing. You can either, one, look at the competitor and say, he's charging X. I'm going to charge X too. Or I'm better than him. I'm going to charge X plus $1. Right? Or you could say, I want to earn $100,000 per year, and I want to do 12 wedding videos for the year. And therefore I must charge this amount per month and charge this amount per wedding video to achieve your target. The last way, and very important way as well, is determining what your costs are. So starting off, it's kind of easy to bypass this and say, well, you know what, I'm just going to charge what I feel like. But then surely, very surely, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna cost for equipment, cost for your time, cost for employees, subcontracts, rent. It just all adds up, and it's going to cost you. So therefore, we must put all those things into consideration before we come up with our cost structure. The very next step in our process is key metrics. So what looks like success to you? Is it making $150,000 a year? Is it having this amount of clients? Is it having the best wedding video ever, winning programs or winning awards? So you need to define what is success, what it looks like. So, and that way you know, okay, I can make amends, do better, or do this. Right? So very, very next part is unique unfair advantage. So what is unique or what is unfair about your business that you have built? Right? And in my instance, it's me. I spend a lot of time building myself. right? I spend a lot of time upping my skills, such that when I do put these skills into use, it produces a very, very excellent product. So you have to also do the same. The best way to improve your product is to improve your skills, or these skills within your organization. And therefore, it's going to give you that unfair advantage when paired next to your competitors. So that, very quickly, guys, is the lean canvas. And this is an excellent way to keep in mind the direction of what your company is and what your company looks like. It's very important you do this over and over. As I said, I am on version 7 of my company, and it has been very, very enlightening and useful for me for going forward. So I'm going to pause, and Patrice, are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Shem. That's it. Right, good. It was allowing them some time to adjust the camera. Oh no, God, there.
Sorry.
Actually, the rhythm was going well, you know, the enthusiasm and excitement. I thought, okay, right, I've just settled in to hear the rest of this conversation. It just cut off on me there. But okay, I'll over the fun. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is where we will facilitate the questions that we have for Mr. Williams this afternoon, and I want to thank him for that very energetic and passionate presentation. You can clearly see the drive there. So that leads me to my first question. Okay, so I appreciate the fact that you have found a space that you're comfortable in and you're happy and you're successful. But you would have indicated at the start of your presentation that there was a time when you disregarded the pull, the drive, the inclination to go the way of charting your own course. Can you give us some kind of sense of why you think that was?
Okay, so very interestingly, I read this book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective Persons, and it asks me, where do I see myself at the end of my career? And then giving it thought, I said, you know what, one day I want to become an independent center. So to become an independent center, I thought I ought to have some independent source of income. So I began and I said, you know what, a business is really the best way of doing that. The very first business I started was a business, was same ESPY, but it was geared towards security cameras, installing security cameras. And it turns out that I really didn't like it, and it flopped, right? It was kind of sad. But I began that step. And also in accordance with the book, they asked me to decide what my source was. And what do you mean by source is what drives you, what's important. And I had a list, and it went like this: God, family, work, me, like hobbies and interests, and then charity. So I knew this is what I wanted to be. I knew what to be like. But when I examined my life, it wasn't like that. It was work, work, more work, perhaps some more work, right? And that was kind of inconsistent. But I wrote something on a whiteboard, and every day when I come into work, I look at the whiteboard. People would come into my desk in my office and see it and ask me what it's about, and I would describe to them, hey, this is what I deem as important. Now, one day, it became clear that I was living inconsistently. So it was we on a petrochemical plant. We had an outage, and for a month I was working on nights. And on all year's night, my wife asked me, so Shem, can you please come home for lunch? Lunch meaning 12 a.m. in the morning. I live 10 minutes from work, so it's supposed to be cool. 5 to 12, she calls, and she says, Shem, where are you? But I only plant out in fires, installing these things, fixing stuff. And I still only plant. I live 10 minutes from home. And so she knew I couldn't make it. And that was a real violation of all these things that I wrote and promised and promised to be consistent with. And it was up here, so I really felt bad, and I knew I had to act it out to be consistent. And therefore, I calculated 7 years, 7 months, 7 days would be April 17th. That sounded like a really good time to quit. So I put in my resignation letter on that April 17th. And never looked back since, because it has just been like a roller coaster of opportunity and fulfilling your purpose. There's nothing like dedication to the direction that you have set out and seeing rewards of that. Trinidad and Tobago have a lot of hard workers, right? We spend a lot of effort, a lot of time, and do excellent in the industries that we are put in. And if that is where you're calling, if that's where your skills are being maximized, you are lucky, you are happy. But sometimes it is not. And therefore, if it isn't, perhaps you should look at fulfilling your potential in the area that you have decided. And that is how I gathered up the strength to actually step away from a full-time position.
But admittedly, much of what you are speaking to is about a personal courage to step out from the norm. So passion, yes, courage, fine. What other characteristics do you think makes the ideal entrepreneurial mindset emerge in an individual?
So we identify courage, we identify passion, definitely persistence. Persistence, because things may not always go your way, but you have dedicated yourself to this role, and there are going to be hard times, and you just know that, hey, I'm going to persist and I'm going to overcome over these challenges. And very, very, very important is reading. When I originally started reading, I didn't know it made such an impact, but this is the importance of it. Right now, I see decisions to be made in everyday work life or in my entrepreneurial journey, and I see other persons make the decision in a different way than I would make it. And the only reason why I would make it differently is because of the things that I've filled myself in with. Everyone in this world has 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 ears, well, mostly, and the ability to make decisions. Now, when we look at other persons and we put them, for example, take a billionaire, and if they got bankrupt the next day, the very next thing they're going to do is perhaps not going to ask for a job. They're going to do what they know what to do, or what they believe what is right to do. And similarly with myself, in terms of learning and reading and learning and consistently doing it, is going to be a key success factor.
But outside of the positives, life is life. So what are some of the challenges or barriers that you would have encountered on this journey as an entrepreneur?
So the bad habits learned as an employee, right? I every month would have gotten a paycheck. So you know that, hey, I could buy whatever I want, act for whatever I want, purchase a car if I needed to, because at the end of the month, I'm going to be reset. I got a rude awakening to that when I quit, and that the realization came that there is no steady paycheck. I remember being in Motor Life, looking at a towel for like $300 and just looking at it and saying, I cannot buy that because I don't know. I know that the money in my account is assigned for something else, and I don't know where the money is coming to buy that. So that was a significant challenge for me, right? Another challenge to entrepreneurship, right, is the system. Trinidad and Tobago, unfortunately, has a very poor entrepreneurial ecosystem, as identified by the World Economic Forum report of October 2019, which puts us somewhere like 119th in entrepreneurial culture out of 141 countries. And that is definitely something that we need to work on as a country, as an entity, as a person. And well, I'll give an example. So let's say if you go to the bank to open an account, and this is true for me personally during this COVID session. This is true during tough times is where great ideas and great companies are born. So I said, oh, I have an idea for a company called COVID Cohesive that kind of grouped all the is a network, a database, fixing the original network on the ground where people can get help. So to do it right, as a for an upstanding entrepreneur, I need to have a bank account. So I went to the bank, say, hey, I want to open up this bank account. I'm sorry, sir. We are not opening bank accounts at this time. So that our ecosystem needs to be aware of what is required for entrepreneurships and small businesses to really excel. So definitely the amount of paperwork, and I get it. In terms of money laundering, it's very important for us to be legit, but we treat small businesses and small entrepreneurs in the same way that we treat large corporations. And the hurdles are just too high. For example, they ask, how long have you been operating? If you have been in operation already, you need to have chartered accounts. So that means I needed to hire an accountant. That means I need to hire a chartered accountant to do the auditing. Imagine if I had a small business that just did not make that amount of income. That is an almost insurmountable barrier that we, as a community, Trinidad and Tobago, need to adjust and perhaps help. So perhaps I would say definitely get a different way of dealing with small entrepreneurs.
And as you mentioned, the banking, going and trying to set up your banking account. What has been your experience in terms of financing your ideas? Because like you said, it's one thing to start an account, get the cash to put into the account, or to begin the whole investment into your idea and your passion. It's sometimes a major hurdle for young entrepreneurs. What has been your experience? Do you know, and secondly, do you know of any facilities that they can consider going forward?
Thank you very much. That's a brilliant question, and there are two ways of answering it. The first part is financing it yourself. So the very, very first way of getting money is your savings, your income from your main-time job. After that is bootstrapping, which is what you call bootstrapping, doing it yourself. And then is asking friends and family, which is called foolish money, which means that they're not going to really ask you any pervasive questions, and they just trust you and they love you, so they're going to support you. Now, after and if your business survives and is successful, then you can go asking for more money from investors, right? Now, and then you're looking for up from that and to more and more higher rounds of investment. But the very, very, very core is financing it yourself through credit card loans and friends and family. I mean, if you can't get your friends and family to support your business, you're not going to get an investor, a high-level investor too. And that's just the way it is. There's another way too, which is through grants. After being in the entrepreneurial circle, you learn of many, many, many excellent organizations. Excellent organizations are NETCO, YBTT, US Embassy, Caribbean Development Bank, IDB, and all of these organizations that want to do good in society. But they are just organizations, they need help doing good. And if you became an entity that were willing to achieve these goals that they have set forth, then you are in prime position to go to them and ask, hi, can I achieve goal number 10 of the Sustainable Development Goals? And I'm going to do it in this way, and I need this grant to do so. That's another excellent way of getting funds, aligning yourself with the very good organizations. But key, and what has worked for me is finding a customer and serving their need. because you go to a customer and say, hey, can I fix this for you? They will say, sure, and I'll pay you X. And in that way, you always get money and don't need a loan. So that is the best way, finding great customers and having a great business that brings in money right away.
So, but granted, and thank you for that response, but staying with the external funding that you might be able to source through international agencies, that usually comes with the expectation that you have some solid documentation of your plan. So you would have walked us through your lean canvas, the lean canvas model, but in terms of accessing grants from the likes of the Caribbean Development Bank or the US Embassy, what kind of documentation and rigor have you really seen in accessing that?
Okay. Very foremost, you need to have a very, very well thought out plan. And when I say well thought out, it's hard to describe here. However, on YLI online courses, there's a wonderful program that shows you all the things that would be required of you and quite of what you need to know. So you have to be very aware of that grants process. You need to know about how often persons are successful with grants. So not to be discouraged. You need to know what they are looking for. You have to find the ideal grantor for your program. Don't just send something, because if you're not fulfilling their purpose in the way that they want, you're going to get kicked out. You must be very good at writing, very good at explaining yourself, and very good at following their details and specifications that they put out. You must, of course, be registered. All the certification is required. Having a bank account is also required. So you must pass all of the requirements in order to be successful at such a grant.
Okay, so we have another question. I guess the persons wanted to know, in your experience, even with the international group of youth leaders that you're associated with, how well represented are young entrepreneurs from Trinidad and Tobago, one, and oftentimes the differently able seems to be left out of the entrepreneurial conversation. Have you seen or witnessed any such support or mechanisms for the differently able to participate at the higher level in terms of entrepreneurial development? So
two more questions. The first, just remember the first part.
The first is in terms of Trinidad and Tobago's representation at these forums. Are you seeing an uptick in young entrepreneurs from the country, or it's not as good as it could be? What kind of representation are we having?
I would say we actually have a very good representation in programs such as YLI, and we have been represented well, and continue to represent, and that's based on the numbers as compared to other Caribbean countries or even Latin American countries, and how we are represented. We actually have some very, very good examples of persons out there, very, very good, and not just of the persons, but of their projects, such as AgriMan. I always look up to that AgriMan idea and how well I've been represented worldwide, right? So, but sometimes it's not always very well advertised, so we may not be aware of it. And the second question, which is how well is our differently abled represented? And I would be honest, I don't think very well, because it's difficult to recall any examples of excellent differently abled businesses that are advertised as a model for others. I know of one girl who's a writer, and she has done remarkably well. But I agree that we could do a whole lot better, especially providing opportunities to different neighbors for entrepreneurship.
Okay, and you touched on the question of widespread communication and marketing of the efforts of those entrepreneurs who actually are emerging and existing in Trinidad and Tobago. What is the biggest gap there, and what can be done to mitigate that challenge?
Okay, so the biggest gap with advertising, and because I'm an advertiser, young entrepreneurs or medium entrepreneurs don't recognize the importance of advertising and don't have the budget for advertising. However, if you look at companies like Nike, Coke, any popular companies, they do spend that money in advertising because they realize the importance and they see it and they see the benefits of it. But definitely a real hurdle is that advertising costs and to make the budget for it.
Right. Okay, so what is happening on the ground? So you would, okay, so we understand the international representation that we have for young leaders, but in Trinidad and Tobago itself, do we have any facility or forum by which entrepreneurs are given an opportunity to come together and network ideas and collaborate on projects, or just learn about what is happening with each other?
Okay, so yes, we have organizations like USMC, which has a maker space, right? We are creating that entrepreneurship hub, which is to create a space to allow entrepreneurs to come together and spread and share ideas and push our what we need to have accomplished. And it's not just the USMC's entrepreneurship hub. There's also YBTT, which is another excellent organization. NEDCO also provides help and assistance to entrepreneurs. I recently saw Unit Trust Corporation having a space just for entrepreneurs to come together. Even on WhatsApp, there are a number of groups, right? Like H2H leaders, TT entrepreneurs, Vibe TT entrepreneurs group, and all of these WhatsApp groups just full of excellent entrepreneurs that, like myself as well, who could give out this same advice to anyone in that group and easy to reach out through there. So definitely, I would say to connect through the WhatsApp groups and through these organizations, just and entering through any one of those organizations will kind of help you bridge and connect with others.
And how would persons be able to access that step into the WhatsApp group? Because you usually have to have someone's number. Is there a website that we can go to and express an interest, or Facebook page to say, okay, please add me?
Interesting. There's none that I can recall.
Right.
But now you have to contact me.
Because when you say join the WhatsApp group, it implies that you know someone's number. So are you going to be giving us your number?
Sure. No, it's 780-1661.
I'll put your
868-780-1661. Just message me and we'll connect.
Okay, excellent. So my final question for this afternoon to you, going forward, if it is that you had to speak to young Shem, what would be the pearls of wisdom that you would have given to them?
Young Shem, what would I tell young? I would tell young Shem, why know the path that you want to be on, like where you want to be in the future, and don't stop, don't give up, and take the jump, take the leap of faith, and execute it. And I definitely, I was just lucky enough to perhaps read a lot earlier, and challenge your what you believe is everything, right? So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Shem, for that very delightful presentation and conversation, because I think it was very light and your energy makes it easy for us to converse. So ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the close of our presentations for the TVET, sorry, I'm getting tired, I apologize. The TVET e-convention hosted by the National Training Agency. For everyone who would have been able to rally with us from the first day to now, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the diligent support, for logging in, for joining the conversation, for sending forward your comments and your questions. You have aided in making this quite a delightful and informative exercise. The National Training Agency really commend all our presenters and supporters. On day one, we would have covered virtual and augmented learning. And we had the privilege of having both an international and regional perspective in how not only COVID, but the realities of the 21st century living, how it is impacting education, how it is impacting the way that skills are being reinforced and mastery is being attained. We would have seen the model that would have been covered in different international counterparts. The use of virtual and augmented reality, where a teacher would be able to stand in any classroom and generate an image that allows their students the capacity to and the opportunity to interface and learn. Then we went on to see and discuss the model that was being applied through the National Energy Skills Center and Open Campus. Specifically, we wanted to recognize and commend the work that is being done by NASC in collaboration with their college and how they have faced COVID challenge and pandemic head on, and the ways that they have quickly innovated to put their material online with the expectation that it is going to make the transition to the workshops easier when things relax once more. On day two, we would have encountered and had conversations about the new and emerging trends as far as workplace learning would have been concerned. We in TVET, because we are geared towards the development of skills that will be applied immediately in the world of work, it was reinforced that we have to find ways to continue that learning within the actual sites where these graduates will be performing. So the conversation at the level of T&TEC MIC would have allowed us to gain an appreciation for how different institutions are blending their face-to-face or online theoretical exposure with that of the practical hands-on reinforcement that happens in the jobs on the job site. We would have also had the privilege of launching for you the Record of Achievement, an innovative tool that we feel would add some prestige and confidence and pride to every graduate. No longer would the graduate have to walk with 1,001 pieces of paper and certificates from all the training providers that they would have gone to. They would have a single document that they would be able to have stamped, showing not only what they have done, but how it connects on the wider scheme. Employers would be able to look at the document and clearly see how each unit, each course adds together to the candidate that is facing them and being considered for recruitment. Just like the University of the West Indies, or the other universities across the region, where we would have a transcript, and it just gives us a sense of accomplishment to see all these things listed. We are the National Training Agency, continue to do our part to add to the confidence that employers have and to the pride that the trainees will face after going through our training. So we still encourage you to visit the website. We'll take a look at the launch video once more and then access it and see how much the NTA continues to strive. Today was a dynamic and enjoyable day. We not only got to see innovative changes that are happening in the entrepreneurial sphere, we also got the journey chronicled by two entrepreneurs in Trinidad and Tobago. This was excellent. We saw the passion, we saw the consistency, we saw the commitment that these individuals continue to push forward to make a difference. We hope and we pray that all the information that you would have attained today and over the last 2 days of this e-convention have sparked some level of intrigue and interest, and that you are inspired to stay with it for a little longer and contemplate how we can all work together to make the positive changes in the TVET landscape that we desire. The time is now to act. And I think that we are well on our way to making ample use of all the resources and experiences that we would have been exposed to over these last 3 years. It has been my absolute pleasure in serving as your moderator this afternoon. And at this point, I would like to introduce and welcome back Ms. Sunita Ganpat, who will lead us through the closing exercise for this conference. Sunita.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Searles, for doing such a great job today. I'm Sunita Ganpat, and it is my honor to carry you through the closing of the TVET convention. Before we do so, though, I would like to first share with you some NTA information. Welcome back, everyone. Firstly, I wish to invite our chairman of the NTA, Dr. Ruby Allen, to bring remarks as we conclude today's session.
Good afternoon to everyone with us. Thank you, Sunita. It's my pleasure this afternoon on behalf of the board to be with you just for a few moments. First of all, to say thank you to the management and staff of the NTA for hosting this e-convention. We have to thank God that we had the resourceful and resilient workers on the staff who could have recognized that although we couldn't meet physically, there was this fantastic opportunity to meet virtually and to have the convention as we had planned. We've looked at the registration over the last few days, and we've had almost 300 persons logging on and participating in the convention. That's been amazing. We have received a lot of telephone calls and messages by email as well, encouraging us to do more of this in terms of communicating with our stakeholders. So I'd like to say thank you to the management and staff, very hardworking staff. I'd like to say thank you as well to our presenters without whom we couldn't have had the convention, beginning with the keynote address from Professor Brian Copeland at UE, and so many presenters who were here as well from the region, internationally, and our local presenters. Our entrepreneurs today did, of course, a very, very remarkable job in terms of communicating what their personal journeys would have been like in terms of building their own entrepreneurial activities. So this afternoon, what I would like to do very briefly is to speak to you about what you can expect from the NTA in the months to come. So there are several initiatives, and some of them Patrice would have been speaking about a short while ago. We talked about the Record of Achievement. The Record of Achievement is really a very innovative product in terms of what the NTA is offering to Trinidad and Tobago, and the difference it can make in terms of what employers see when they are faced with student records or transcripts. They look normally at a list of subject areas or a list of qualifications that would have been earned. This gives the employer the view of the skills that the graduate possesses. And so they're going to be able to see not just what people learned or what they studied, but what they can do with those skills. And we have, of course, launched that during this convention, and we're looking forward to graduates going online, looking at how they can view their records, and moving from that, we'll be able to then interface with employers who are interested in looking for specific skills and direct them in terms of how they can use the Record of Achievement. So this is one of the things that we are hoping to expand in terms of the coverage over the next few months. You'll also be hearing more about the National TVET Research Council. And in terms of TVET development in the country, there is a lack of data. Data in terms of skills demand, data in terms of labor market demands, data in terms of understanding what skills we need to foresight for in terms of the development of industries as we move forward. And so the National TVET Research Council, in which NTA will play a very significant role, has the responsibility to put forward a national agenda in terms of research, in terms of data collection, that can help the country in terms of determining what we do with our human resource and how we ensure that the human resources are adequate for the development, the social and economical development of the country. We talk next about the certification system for TVET practitioners. And one of the things during the recent lockdown was that people recognized how much they needed to have access to their hairdressers and nail technicians and barbers and plumbers and so many other persons who are actually practicing their craft in terms of technical and vocational education and training. And in a number of the areas, such as the working with the electricians or with the plumbers, we have a licensing regime where persons will acquire the skills, undergo some kind of assessment, and be licensed to practice within that particular skill area. There are a number of other areas that are unregulated and in which practitioners are now looking to some sort of regimen that will allow them to assess the skills of persons who are practicing in those areas and award some kind of badge that will be a proof that the person is competent to practice in that particular field. And so we've developed a system that will allow for this. We've already engaged some practitioners in key areas, and we are inviting persons who are practicing their skills in the TVET areas to contact the NTA and to work with us in terms of developing certification systems for their own area of practice. This has the impact, of course, of improving the competence of persons who are actually given a badge to practice in a particular area. Then we look at quality assurance. The Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago has the responsibility for quality assurance and accreditation of providers who are offering post-secondary education and training. But for those who are offering TVET in areas that are not post-secondary, there is no regulatory system at the moment. The National Training Agency has a system that provides assurance of the Trinidad and Tobago vocational qualifications as well as the Caribbean vocational qualifications. But we are now expanding the NTA's remit in terms of the other TVET providers who may be offering their own qualifications. And so we will be offering a quality assurance process for those providers who are offering TVET qualifications that are not at the post-secondary level, which would be covered by the ACTT. And so we are hoping to engage all of our providers in this. In doing so, we speak about greater collaboration with the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago. The ACTT has been engaged in discussions with the National Training Agency. We are looking at collaborating with respect to the quality assurance of technical, vocational education and training programs at all levels. So we expect to see this collaboration strengthen in the months to come. One of the outputs of that relationship with the ACTT is, of course, the development of a comprehensive national qualifications framework. And what this will do is to actually provide a seamless pathway for progression from preschool right up to university level. Every aspect or every level of education will be pegged on the national qualification framework so that you can understand what the entry requirements are, what the exit points are, what you can expect of persons who achieve a certain level of qualification, and it will assist also in terms of the mobility of our students from one level of qualification to the next, regardless of what institution they go to, or whether it's actually local or regional, because the national qualifications framework will also be aligned to our CARICOM qualifications framework. We talked a lot about our Univoc Center and the fact that the National Training Agency has been recognized by UNESCO as an international Univoc Center. And one of the things that we'd like to focus on is the providing support for the professional development of our TVET instructors. And we've already engaged our TVET instructors. You've had the opportunity to see presentations by some of them during the convention. And so we hope to provide more opportunity for them in the next few months in terms of their professional development. The focus will be to a large extent as well on providing them with skills to navigate this new environment, which is an online environment. We've all been forced into what we call an emergency remote teaching mode because of the COVID lockdown. But emergency remote teaching just means that you've gone into an emergency mode where you have no choice but to deliver your training online. You now have to move from that to a systematic approach to the delivery of online training. And so the professional development is important to move in that direction. We've had a number of webinars, and we've had a lot of interest in our webinars as well over the last year. And so we're going to be ramping up what we do in terms of the webinars, increasing the range of topics that we cover, and also seeking to encourage and to involve more persons to participate in those webinars, which is really a public awareness and public education forum, as well as something that targets professionals in the field of TVET. And we have a very exciting I Am TVET campaign, which is going to be launched fully very soon, which will really focus on providing the impetus for increased entrepreneurship and employability skills for young persons in particular. So we will try to relate the programs that are available in the many institutions that we have in the country to the skill development that is required for the economy at this point in time, and also provide for young persons the encouragement and the stimulus to get involved in their own businesses, as we've seen so many persons talking about that today. And finally, we are going to launch our new national apprenticeship system. This is one of the things that we've been working on for a very long time. We've had apprenticeship schemes all through the years, but in this case, it's going to be a national apprenticeship system. We have already engaged our Ministry of Education. We've had the necessary approvals to move forward with this project. And so we're going to keep that one in our pocket today, but we will give you a lot more information on what to expect. Let me say that it's going to be a partnership similar to the one that we have in terms of this board that governs the NTA between government, labor, and private sector. And we've already spoken to partners. As a matter of fact, I can say that one of the proponents of this new national accreditation apprenticeship system has been a member of the NTA board who represents the Oilfield Workers Trade Union. I'd like to really acknowledge Mr. Lincoln Ramlochan for the way in which he has been the one to push this idea forward with the board, to get the support of the board, and to also pledge the OWTU's commitment to engaging in the new national apprenticeship system as we move forward with it. So we're very thankful for that, and we look forward to bringing that to members of the public. And finally, we need to say that in all of this, the NTA will be working to strengthen our international partnerships, our regional partnerships, and our strategic partnerships nationally. You've seen during this convention that we've already engaged with the Human Resource Association of Trinidad and Tobago, HUMAT, in launching the Record of Achievement. We have a number of local partners who have sponsored the convention as well. Regionally, we've been interfacing with the CARICOM Secretariat. The CARICOM Secretariat has actually recommended the NTA as one of the agencies to participate in a project that UNESCO is hoping to pilot in the Caribbean very shortly. And we are in discussion with our Ministry of Education on that. So in the next few months, you will hear more about our collaboration with the Commonwealth of Learning, with the UNESCO, and also with the support of the CARICOM Secretariat, and of course with a number of local partners. So I'm very happy to say that the NTA is alive and well. The NTA is pursuing its mandate as it never has before. The NTA will continue to engage all of our stakeholders at the national and regional level. And all we ask is that you continue to have confidence in us, continue to have faith in us, continue to collaborate with us. It's very important for us to maintain that engagement with our stakeholders. And so we look forward to feedback from the stakeholders. Even on this convention, we will have an assessment of the convention through by using the survey method to get feedback from you on your participation in the convention. We have a beautiful convention booklet, which make sure you get a copy of it. In that convention booklet, you'll also see greetings from our Honorable Minister of Education, Mr. Anthony Garcia. And you will also get information on all of the presenters who have been with us for the last 3 days of the convention. So, ladies and gentlemen, stakeholders, colleagues, friends in TVET, I want to thank you very much on behalf of the board for participating and staying with us over the 3 days, and we look forward to a continued relationship with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Allen. We appreciate all you've done for the National Training Agency at the helm of the Board of Directors. Lastly, I wish to invite our Chief Executive Officer Acting, Ms. Pauline Whiteman, to bring closing remarks.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we bring the curtain down on the NTA's TVET e-convention, the agency's first virtual convention. Over the past 3 days, we have had some very important and insightful presentations from distinguished and experienced leaders from various sectors, organizations, locally, internationally. I must say locally, regionally, and internationally. I have the pleasure of giving thanks or thanking all of those speakers, presenters who participated in making this e-convention a success. Firstly, to Professor Brian Copeland, we thank you for being part of this forum and for taking the time to share your insight with us. We applaud all of your achievements thus far, and we look forward to the future outputs of the UE in its efforts to support workforce development. What is evident is that the COVID-19 pandemic has created additional challenges within the current TVET system. Notwithstanding this e-convention has provided an opportunity for us to come together as leaders, administrators, teachers, and students in the TVET arena to create a platform for action with recommendations that will undoubtedly chart the way forward. We are compelled to be innovative and foster the entrepreneurial spirit. Based on the information conveyed over these sessions, I must say that the future of TVET is in great hands. We would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all of our presenters. Dr. Bashir Ahmad Shadrach, Ms. Jennifer Britton, Ms. Anisha Welsh, Mr. Kofi Tony, Mr. Rodney Holt, Mr. Nigel Marquez, Mr. Brian James, Ms. Janelle Ross McIntyre, Mr. Gabriel Williams, and Mr. Shemeon Williams. We deeply appreciate the support and invaluable contributions you brought surrounding the topics that you would have presented on. We wish you the best in all your future endeavors and look forward to your contributions for years to come. You would have heard from previous speakers that during this e-convention, we also launched our record of achievement. And I would like to express our appreciation to everyone who worked assiduously on this project. Ms. Eleanor Rampasad David, Manager Projects, led the team in this regard. To Ms. Keisha Deoki Singh, who represented HUMAT, the Human Resource Management Association of Trinidad and Tobago, we thank you, and by extension, HUMAT, for your support of this initiative. We look forward to collaborating with HUMAT in future initiatives in our efforts towards developing a competent and qualified workforce. We must say thank you to our chairman, Dr. Ruby Allen, and members of the board of directors at the NTA for their support and for working with the management and staff to ensure that this first virtual convention was a success. Dr. Ruby Allen represents government, and she would have been appointed based on her expertise and experience. Other members of our board representing government include Ms. Karen Lovell Ferreira, Deputy Chairman, Ms. Shemeon Jelino, and Mr. Satish Oja. Other members of our board include Mr. Mario Alves, Trade Union representing Labor, Mr. Lincoln Ramlochan, also representing Labor, and Ms. Charlene Suchak Dwarka, who also represents Labor. Other members include Ms. Joy Francis, who represents employers. She represents the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association. Ms. Diane Joseph, again representing employers from the Trinidad and Tobago Coalition of Services Industries. And Mr. Carl Seymour, again representing the employers, the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. We would also like to pay special recognition to our sponsors. The MIC Institute of Technology, the Civilian Conservation Corps, and the Trico Clinic. We thank you for being part of this momentous occasion for the NTA, and by extension, all persons involved in TVET and skills development. We look forward to strengthening our relationship with you as we move forward. Last but by no means least, we must recognize the hard work and immeasurable contributions of the team for the TVET e-convention. I must congratulate Ms. Amrika Maraj, who led the team. Other members of the team include the most able IT team led by Anslim Ali, who is the manager of the IT department, ably supported by Nari Mohan, Mr. Nari Mohan. As you've heard from the chairman, our TVET e-convention was done totally in-house by our team that reside in here, very competent team with the requisite skills to allow this to happen. Other members of the team include Andel Salazar, Rose Uchi Nurachi, Akash Ramkilawan. We also wish to convey
our expression of thanks to our Master of Ceremonies, Ms. Sunita Ganpat, for carrying us through our proceedings for this convention, as well as to our moderators, Dr. Patrice Parasols, the Balchan Rambaran, Mr. Kevin Lafon. To all of you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for the engaging discussions we were able to deliver during this e-convention, facilitating these engaging discussions, and your continued contributions towards the success of the NTE. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, we express our profound appreciation to you, our distinguished stakeholders, for your continued support. Sometimes the journey through TVET is not always the smoothest or fastest, but assists tremendously in enhancing our skills and competencies. We look forward to strengthening our relationship in the future, and we remain committed to serving you. Thank you. God's blessings to you and your families. And please continue to follow the NTA to keep abreast of our activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whiteman. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the NTA's TVET e-convention. Truly appreciate your support and contribution over the last 3 days. I must say that it was indeed my pleasure to act as your Master of Ceremonies. As I close, everyone, please stay safe and God bless.